Hello everyone, this is Caillou, otherwise known as Anand, and I'm joined here today with my friend Kari, and we're going to be talking about Gideon the Ninth. Now, the title may say review, but I think we're both very rambly people, so it's mostly just going to be kind of a back and forth conversation of us gushing about this book, because we love it.
I'm just gonna cry. That's all I'm gonna do. Just gonna
Hmm.
cry in the corner, and you can do all
And
of
I'm
the
just going to
editing.
like gleefully laugh at your despair.
Yes, that's all that can happen.
Hmm. So I think like, do you want to start off by like kind of like going over like the broad plot of the book, I guess? Like the parts you liked?
Yes. Are we trying to? Are we allowing spoilers, or
Yeah. Oh
are we?
yeah. For
Okay.
like clarity's sake, this is going to be chock full of spoilers. So like we're going to be going ham with that shit.
Okay. Word. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do it any other way, anyways, if I
Hmm.
tried. Okay. Yeah. Like, just give a summary of it.
Yeah, I guess. Or
Yeah.
just or
I mean, they do such a good job on the main cover. Like, they're just lesbian necromancers explore a haunted gothic palace in space. That's kind of all that happens.
I think like the way it starts off is like it was like super confusing to me, but like I really thought like all of these characters that we met at the start were going to be more important, like the sword master, the old dude that she hates, all of that. But like I guess the main part of it was just to like establish like the Gideon Harrow dynamic because I feel like I've expressed this before. I think the entire book is literally just a vessel for like the Gideon Harrow dynamic. like the so like the plot goes off like they go off to space. There's some other stuff, but I feel like the plot is just like secondhand to like the characters.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Mm-hmm.
And the beginning just makes like mostly serves too to like horrify and like I've said, it established that like very gritty tone out of the get, which I love, but also makes a really good starting off point for getting into their dynamic. Um, yeah, should we say more about the plot or?
Nah, I think we're kind of like already getting into like the characters and stuff now.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that at the beginning a lot more of those characters would stick too, but honestly wasn't super disappointed that they didn't. Because I mean, uh, Eumenes was cool,
No,
but
that's not that
what's
that's
their
that's the
name?
fifth season one. I don't remember the name of the planet. The first planet,
No,
the
it's
planet
not
of.
their instructor.
Oh, it starts with an A. You have the book. There's a character index in the book.
Okay, I'll use my resources.
It starts with an A. It's a very like flower sounding
I
name.
feel like it has NA in. Oh, Algemene. Yeah.
See, it starts with an A.
Oh my god. Okay. Algemenes. Yeah, I thought they would be more important, but also like I liked everything they took out of that character and just Gideon like basically like packed up and took with them to the like rest of the plot that just gets severed from the beginning. Um yeah. And then I like had the way they set up Crux to operate as like Gideon's point of internal strength throughout like the rest of it and stuff, just like anger and like funnels it from him and like which is cool, especially
Yeah,
when they do like training stuff and like for no apparent reason she's channeling that.
yeah. Oh god, and I just like the start like her like banter with Crux really like sets up for like her entire personality, and it's just like the humor of the book where it's just like we're like the part where she's like, I'll give you these porn mags," and he's like, "How dare you?" And then like Algemene is like, he said that you offered him some pornography, and he's like, "I did offer him some stupendous works of a titty nature," and I'm just like, that line just like that's the first time like this book just like gave me an out of body experience, but definitely not the last.
Yeah. I think I had so many preconceptions because you were like, this book is gonna be so perfect for you that I was like, I saw a lot of this coming, but then, like, again, I've said this when the puns hit, I was like, oh my god. It's Shimbo distilled down to its nature and
Mm-hmm.
it's super enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like if there's anything this book is, I think it's just like overwhelmingly enjoyable. I think that like it has like some problems, but like overall it didn't really like affect my experience of just like being excited while reading it. Which I feel like if someone's like more sensitive to like those problems, I guess like it might like hamper that. But like I think it would be like you'd have to be like a little bit. you have to be not the target audience of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm so bad at like identifying those things just because I'm on board from like the get-go with characters like this and just women and queer that like even if I'm very cognizant of those things and other stuff, reading this, I was just like it's amazing. I don't care about anything. I'm just in it for Gideon. So I wasn't aware of those and I feel like most people wouldn't be anyways.
Yeah, I think it's more of just like how much are you annoyed versus like amused by characters like Gideon in general? Because I think that like brand of humor and like cockiness can like grate on people, but like I think in the context it was presented, we had enough grounding from like Harrow and the other characters for it to not feel like it was eclipsing the whole the whole tone.
Mm. And this is the beautiful balance of a goth and jock dynamic. It's perfect. It's everything you need. Because there are specifically characters from other things that I know you hate because they're kind of flippant in a similar way. I'm talking about Ava from Warrior Nun.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it ends up being endearing because of other characteristics within Gideon.
Yeah, Ava feels like just out of place, while like Gideon feels like out of place because like of like I don't know like I think like they could have played up like not to get too far off, but I think the thing with Ava is like they could have played up like okay she's been like in an orphanage like or like a orphanage her whole life, she has like all of these factors which make her like have like these like defensive responses, while like for Gideon I think they contextualize that like on page a lot better, where they're like she's been alone in this horrible place and like her main thing is just like being funny in a world that is very like grim and awful, and to kind of run away from and like it seems like lots of it is just her way of coping with like hey I'm literally stuck on this planet with a person who hates me and I have this overwhelming guilt that I think I might deserve it.
Yeah, they do a really good job of like defining the internalized end of it as being like a source for their comedy, but also I kind of feel like the setup at the beginning with how much detail you get is a little bit loose just because there are so many things that get divulged later on for twists and whatnot that at the beginning like even though like yes very very grim, Gideon's role and everything is kind of vague.
Yeah, like what are you doing in this world other than trying to escape from this planet and why?
Yeah, because like in my mind I'm like they're just here to be basically abused and probably killed and that's it.
And like I feel like Gideon I feel like there's some aspects which are kind of like brought up at the start and then you assume they'll be important and kind of latch onto them and then they're kind of like no we're going this completely different direction, like the stuff about like Gideon's mother, and the stuff about like the 200 babies which they just gloss over.
Yes. Your notes around that, by the way, were so funny. I was dying. You, like, a chapter later, at some point, you were like, but what about the babies? When you were sword fighting, I was like...
But, like, yeah, but I was just like, y'all just gonna, like, gloss... I was, like, expecting them to, like, at some point get to it, but then it was just like, no.
Yeah.
I mean, now obviously they get to it when they reveal like, oh yeah, Harrow, you're actually basically just a mega lictor.
Oh my god, you said it. I was like tiptoeing around saying it. I was not sure what we were like tacitly deciding what to say. Yeah. You know what? Since you've said it, I wanted to say earlier, I am so embarrassed that I didn't from the beginning, based on their dynamic, Gideon and Harrow, which I love. I'm so upset that I did not realize oh, Harrow is deficient here and Gideon is deficient here. Together, they're a whole person. And then, like...
See, as I said, it's the thing that you like. It's like when there's two people in love and they become one person.
Yeah, what's that Plato quote?
You ask this as though I know it.
Oh my gosh, I say this to you all the time, every time I bring up immaculate convergence.
Oh,
it's like... two people or one person separated at the beginning of the earth, and man is made half and must find its whole.
Pretty much that, except the gay.
Yes, that except gay. Plato, but make it gay. Wait, it's already gay.
Yeah, I feel like since we're talking about lictors, I feel like one thing that I didn't like was like the idea that like to become a lictor you just need to like have one soul. It felt kind of like underwhelming after like all this build up. I'm like, oh, you only need one? Like shit. Okay, everybody get your lictor on.
Yes, and I felt the same way. And when they were introducing Ianth as a lictor, and like it was like unraveling, and like it was becoming apparent that they were, and at first because of like their like reluctance to merge, I thought what it was going to be was that when there is a reluctance to merge, what happens or what the product is those like creepy bone constructs that were killing everybody. And
Oh,
I thought
that would be so cool.
yeah, and I thought that's what was haunting the house, like the first house. But no, it was just anyone can merge, which is disappointing.
I mean, also Ianth was just kind of like, I guess was set up as like badass necromancer, but
Yes, that's true. I just like yeah, I wish they would have suggested that more throughout it. I feel like anything I say critical of this book feels ingenuine, and it's
it feels like sacrilegious. Like you feel like you should just like
yeah. Basically, it's more that I just have to apply so much effort to come up with a criticism because I don't care about anything like in my second brain being like, that didn't seem by the book. I'm like, the book is what the book is.
Yeah, I think like as soon as I put it down, I was like 5 stars, 5 stars, and I kind of like reflected on. I'm like actually probably more like 4 to 4.5 stars, but still enjoyment 5 stars.
Yeah, there's definitely a fugue to come out of to try to look at it.
Oh yeah, one part that I think that like the ending fight scene was awesome, but also did not need to be like 60 pages long. Like,
I agree to disagree.
Okay, I'm just gonna say like it was cool as shit. It was dope, but also like I'm a fast reader. Like we've talked about this, but that shit went on for way too long. To the point where I noticed it. Where like I'll usually like just not notice things. Yeah, I'll just zoom and not notice these things.
Yeah, I mean I'm such a slow reader, and I was so into it, or I was so far into it, and then it was like coming to a close, and I was like, why? Stop. Just keep going. But that's also, I mean, that's probably a lot because of how it closes up. So.
Do you mean Gideon biting the big one?
Yes. Not even that. The Gideon murdering themselves. You can say it. It's okay. Saying it out loud is okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Also, I think like obviously like it's a really dramatic, somber moment, but I also think it's really fitting that Gideon, being the Dumbo that they are, just like falls over onto an iron spike. They're just like, wah.
Yes, it could have been like poetic. It could have been so many things, but they're like blunt force trauma. Of course.
Oh yeah, but then that line you mentioned where they're like, "Pick up my sword, don't look at me." That's like, ooh, ouch, oof, oof.
And they say it like 3 times. They're like, "Stop it, don't look at me," and I'm like.
And like I love it because it puts you in that disorientation. Until Gideon says that, I feel like you don't quite realize. Like, and there's like I feel like we've like I think like you get to that point and you're like I don't want to accept it. So like.
Yeah, because you know when the chapter opens, but then hearing it is just different. It hits different. And Gideon, who throughout the whole book is hot stuff, look at me, everybody, and then being like, please don't look at me. And I'm like, oh my god. Yeah, rough times.
One thing that I really like in this book is how they seed the world building. Because I feel like she does like a really, like I think I talked about this earlier where she like just drops stuff and then it's like that Mickey Mouse, have you seen that Mickey Mouse Clubhouse meme where it's like, it's a special tool we're gonna use later. It's like, it's like that.
Yeah. Wait, you do like that?
Yeah, like, I think that, like, at the start it feels jarring because you have this expectation that, like, stuff that's gonna be brought up is gonna be addressed, and then, like, it doesn't get addressed for, like, 100 pages, and then you're like, what? And then there's 200 pages pass and you forget about it, and then, like, just as you've forgotten about it, it's like the stuff about, like Harrow's backstory was I think, and like the unfold of that, I think was really great. Um, oh, controversial opinion, but I feel like I wanted like a little bit more time for like Gideon and Harrow's like change in relationship slash dynamic, because they went from like literally ready to kill each other at the start to like never let you go, like to like till the ends of the earth type shit, and it's just like it felt like there needed to be like a little bit more gradual nature of that. Like in the moment, I was like crying my heart out for these characters, but I also think that like the handling of that could have been done a little bit better.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I think like I would have liked to seen like an establishing scene of there's a moment when they bring up that Harrow is reluctant to care, and it's this like idea of not having the luxury of caring and like having to glaze through things that maybe other someone else would take time on. And I wish they would have given us, like in the second chamber that they go into, or the second trial they have, when she has to siphon Gideon. I wish they would have had something like that, where they express that Harrow's reluctant and wanting to not care about this, but because they need to protect what's in the tomb and ascend to lictorhood, they don't have this like luxury, and like just verbalize that a little bit. That's all I mean. But yeah.
Oh, and also just to go all the way back to like my point about the foreshadowing, like I love how like they have the prayer at the start, and I call that shit. I like marked that. I was like, this prayer is important. There's like some deep lore in this in this prayer where they're like, we're gonna keep the rock on top. We're gonna keep it locked up. Some shit's going down.
And yeah, I marked it where you put that, and honestly, I thought nothing of it, and that's why I marked it. I was just like,
why did Anand mark? But then yeah, and like it came back around to like, there's someone in that tomb who's the only one who beat the emperor, and like there's also like this stuff about like who's the Gideon in the past, and I'm intrigued about all of this for Harrow.
I was
because they like without just one last thing, without like interfering with like the course of like the plot of this book, they've set up like all of these like they cleanly set like Tamsin and Mira set up like all these like mysteries which kind of like provide like this momentum towards the next book.
Yeah, I didn't like. Yeah, I was like cognizant of those things, but only after the fact. Mostly because I just kind of like latched on to everything because I loved it, and then it was just like too many things I was holding on to in like my memory that I just couldn't like sort through any of it. But yeah, they definitely did a good job with that.
The Gideon thing, the Gideon, the past Gideon.
Yes, that's it. I like didn't pick up on those things, but I was like, I think I mentioned this to you. I was like, I think Gideon's from the fourth house, and I think Gideon's parents are necromancers, and like all over the place. Just because like once we got to the first house, I was all distrust. All I had within me was distrust, and like trusted nothing that like anything anyone said. So then like even information that the narrator would be sharing, I was like.
I mean, also you were right to trust because like, or like not trust. Because, like, they were like, haha, Gideon survived the poisoning when no one else did. And I'm like, oh, okay, so Gideon's not going to die. Like, 2 chapters later.
Yeah.
They really set her up as, like, this weird Invinso baby and then just murder the hell out of her. Which is why I have my time travel Gideon theory. In that, A, Gideon's not dead, and also Gideon's just going to somehow go to the past or something.
I'm like trying to house within myself the dichotomy of like knowing not to trust the way that lesbians are written, even if it's by wait, I don't know anything about Tamsin Muir.
You just make the assumption, like they must be. How could you write this?
Okay, wait. I almost said something offensive, so I'm not going to. I'm stop talking. Anyways, but also at the same time being like, it would only make sense if they bring back Gideon. Like, nothing else makes sense just because, one, Invinso baby, and then the fact that they totally shat all over, sorry, this is going to be demonetized for you, Anand. They totally shat all over the whole like Gideon needing autonomy and like it being an essential part of who they are and like not just a battery. Like they literally had, like a few chapters before, Gideon is like, I can't think of myself as just a battery, and then they're like, boom, AAA.
I, at least a D.
Yeah. Okay. It's not better still.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if they don't bring Gideon back, I'll just die. I have to quit on this. And in some way too. It doesn't have to be manifest.
Yeah, but I was talking about how like it's just gonna be like a voice calling out at dire times, and you're like, that sucks. I wouldn't want that.
Because I feel like you can't have like the essential parts of them within that. Like it needs to be a little bit more domestic, or like I don't know. I feel like if it's dire, you'll only ever get those extremely hyperbolically flippant parts of Gideon, which would be heartbreaking.
Yeah, I think what's gonna happen is like in Harrow, Harrow's gonna like work for the Emperor, and we're gonna like get a wider view of the galaxy beyond like the 9 planets that make up the houses. But like while working for the Emperor, Harrow's gonna try and find a way to like unlictor herself.
I would be. I mean, those are all my assumptions too, but I would honestly be down for just intergalactic. I can't think of what the trope is called, but just Gideon traveling around and
You mean
doing
Harrow?
Ah, yes, Harrow. Can we at least
Garrow.
I want just a different name. Just being Harrow is just too.
Yeah, okay, you can call them Garrow. I'll call them Gideon.
I'm gonna edit that name at some point.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I have like I have so many because again like going back like I have so many questions about like the wider galaxy. Where's the Emperor from? Like what's his deal? Like, and I also feel like I forgot what Dulcinea's real name is, like Camilla or something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna call her Camilla Cabello. Like Camilla Cabello like had like
Cythera or something
like that. But like I feel like they like kind of skirted around her motivations, kind of, but they were like implying like the Emperor is bad. And given that like the trilogy is called the Locked Tomb trilogy, like, and what we know about the Locked Tomb is that like the only person who was able to beat the Emperor at some point is in there. So I feel like the Emperor has to be evil because we're gonna like wake up whoever's in the Locked Tomb and they're gonna come and kick the Emperor's ass. Is how this is gonna end. Also, like my prediction is that the person in the Locked Tomb is I have 2 theories. One, it's either Gideon because of my wacky time travel theory. Also because Harrow said that like she thought that the person in the tomb was cute, which like makes sense.
Wait, what? Is that real?
Yeah, like that's why Gideon's like you have a crush on like a dead old girl or something like that. Do you remember that?
Oh, I thought. Oh, yeah, that's a different line. I thought you were referring to when she was saying you should have married Palamedes because you all like him. You have a thing for dead girls.
No, yeah, that's that line. And they were referring to. No, I don't think she said to marry Palamedes, but like, yeah, there was just like a part like when they were at the pool, like at the very end of the pool scene, where like, you're telling me you did all this because you had the hots for some like dead old chick or something like that. But yeah. Or, because we know the name of the last book in the series, which is Electo the Ninth, and, like, we don't know any Electos, we don't know any Electos in the Ninth, and, like, how would you get a new person in the Ninth? So, I feel like Electo the Ninth has to be the person in the Locked Tomb. Or we're going to go back in time, or far in the future.
So now the person in the tomb...
And while we're coming up with crack theories, if Electo isn't one of those, my thing is that Electo is going to be, like, Gideon and Harrow's like construct baby, like just like their child. That's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be like a generation later.
Wait, back up. Constructed child. Please break that apart for me.
I will not.
Like, Gideon's not a necromancer, so what are you referring to?
No. I just mean like they'll raise the baby together, baby Electo.
Okay, I'm not gonna broach that. By the way, I pulled up the line.
But you know how I'm always right. I'm always right.
Yes.
Terrifyingly, inevitably.
scarily so.
Mm-hmm.
For everyone who doesn't know, this started with Pikachu, the detective. A big prediction in that.
Yeah, is... like I called Detective Pikachu being his dad,
and since then, the rest of the lore goes that you don't predict crack theories. You speak crack theories into existence.
Yeah.
Which I really wish you would stop.
Mm-hmm.
I brought up the line, and it's too bad you didn't marry Palamedes. You're both into old dead chicks. I thought they were referring to Gideon. I thought Gideon was referring to themselves within that. Not the locked tomb, but I think you're right about...
Yeah, because Gideon is neither old nor dead.
True. Gideon is dead, though.
Oh, yeah. This was pre-death, though.
Yeah, this was post-dinner.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I feel like these are two things that I should have talked about much earlier into this, but two things that I really appreciate that this book does is how it really, like, establishes tone through description of setting. And I also appreciate, like, how it hops between genres, like, seamlessly. Like, it goes from, like, fantasy to science fiction to basically, like, horror to whodunit mystery. And, like, it just, like, it kind of just, like, balances those out somehow. And I think, like, lots of that comes down to, like, and comedy, obviously. But, like, the tone in, like, individual scenes, which is established by, like, because the first planet, or, like, the first house is just, like, so well described, and just like they have like this oppressive gothic air to it, and especially with like its emptiness and stuff. Like, yeah, I think like it does a really good job of like helping you like imagine like that vast space and what that entails.
Yeah, definitely. And they also use to riff off that, they use such good they have such strong beat changes that follow the like shifts in genre. And the way they like sprinkled in the like sci-fi parts of it, I felt like were really like not innocuous, but just like didn't feel like obtrusive to the other parts of the story, if that makes sense. Like I felt at first like I was a little bit thrown by some things, specifically the electric toothbrush. I maintain that was just too far. Rocket ships, shuttles, whatever, I don't care. Put an electric toothbrush in, and I'm confused. But yeah, otherwise I feel like they went really, really well between it all.
My object that threw me was the sunglasses, because that literally felt like it had no purpose other than to make Gideon cool. That was real. The author was really like, I will give her sunglasses as a treat. Where from?
Yeah, I mean, they would obviously be like smithereens. But I feel like it's just like so self-aware of itself that it's just like, we're just gonna do these things for fun. Everyone's going to accept it, and we're gonna have a good time. And like that's my takeaway with all of the kind of more zany parts of this.
Yeah, for sure. But I think like if you're not into that, that's definitely something to know. And like, yeah. Like you can't like there is like a certain like it's not a book that demands like complete suspension of disbelief, but it demands a degree of it, and you kind of just have to be aware that you're on a ride, and you have to like sign the consent form to just go along with it.
It's more like you need like to like get your participation credentials, and then like it all works. Because if you don't, it's just kind of like this should the trigger warning that should come with is just the Winona Earp trigger warning.
God, yeah. They're even both shimbos.
Literally everyone, even the men in that show are shimbos.
Oh yeah. One thing I want to talk about is the juggling of characters once they reach the first house. Like all of the characters from the different houses, and I feel like they in general do like a good job of like making them feel distinct without making them feel like stereotypes. Except for the second house, because the second house just kind of ends up feeling like the cops TM, the hall monitor. Like I'm gonna tell the teacher when she comes back, like that kind of thing. Like, but everyone else felt like they had like as much as they could. They gave them screen time. But like it felt like I think a little bit more would have been nice. But I guess the idea is like they're all gonna die anyways, so you don't want to spend too much time on them.
Yeah. I feel like there's a balance that you can strike within that though, and I would have needed to read more like mystery because I just mostly, you know this. I haven't even read anything by Agatha Christie still. But
we should make that our next mission.
um, but I feel like there is like they could have maybe they balanced that well because like but Palamedes dies less like as part of the mystery, but after the unfold. But they were really the only one that was super well established.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Palamedes slap. I love that. Like we've talked about this. We both like the part where like Palamedes is like, I'm the greatest necromancer of this age or something, and then Harrow's like,
his favorite moment.
Yeah.
I love that like with like basically like not knowing these people, he's made like an accurate enough assumption of them to be like Harrow's gonna wake for this.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna have to defend her honor. I also want to say the second house, if anything, that felt the most like just rude as far as the way they were written because they don't define them and then they're the cops and they basically just are there to die and they like save everyone essentially and like they were doing the right thing but they saved nobody but they like could have saved everybody if everyone had just not been total dicks about it. But yeah. I also really liked and again I should not say that. I'm not a fan of children. I don't really like particularly like children. But the way they like wrote the kids in this was super endearing. Especially it put like
the parentheses where it's like Magnus, no, Magnus, yeah. Magnus, don't tell them that. I'm over like, God, the humor in this book, like. I want to just say to cover my bases that it can be hit or miss at some points, but also if it's not hitting for you, like where's your sense of humor?
Yeah. Also, that was super about the kids. That shit got me. And like again, I don't like kids, but the setup and then the way they die and everything. Like I still kind of think about it every night, the way that Jean Marie died. I like look in my bed and I'm like, should I sleep? Or should I not sleep?
But see the worry isn't that you fall asleep and die. The worry is that you fall asleep and then like, I don't know, Brinkley's there and he's just like
oh my god, don't come after my dog.
I'm so sorry. I'm trying to set up the scenario properly.
No, but yeah, like the way that the toll that took on Gideon, like just solid setup, especially because we haven't really seen them. I love that we haven't seen this character basically interact with anybody. And then the relationships that they have with people, even like with the silence vow, which I liked a lot, in the way that it like forced them to, which I know the way they handled it, we had problems with. But anyways,
more the way that they handled the end of it, where it felt like it should have been like a more bombastic, because it should have been like a more like y'all you talk, and like they should have said like it should have been more of a moment than it was.
Yeah, especially because within everybody, like, not being like, yo, you talk, I'm like, boy, she does. But, yeah, it kind of makes sense just, like, contextually, because, like, all of their worlds are ending, and Gideon not talking is kind of, like, blasé.
Yeah, fair.
Kind of okay with it. But yeah, the way they, but I like to digress again, the way they like characterized all the relationships they had, particularly with Magnus and Palamedes, live for that. It was excellent, like fantastic all around, and Palamedes seeing like straight through her, fantastic. Yeah. Just silence vow.
I wish Palamedes' mega cancer had worked.
Yeah, that would have been excellent. But then we wouldn't have a second book.
I mean, we would have. It would just been like a little bit quicker. And Gideon wouldn't have had to bite the big one.
You're just trying to avoid the 60-page fight scene.
Big mood. I liked it, but it was so long. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Do you have like any other notes or tabs or stuff that you want to talk about?
I didn't write anything down. I'm unprepared, so
No, I mean like in the book.
Oh gosh. Oh yes, I definitely do. The second I looked at it, there's like one spot that I marked with 5 tabs, and all it was. Also, we haven't talked about Camilla. Oh my gosh, I feel like we're doing so many people injustice.
Yeah, Camilla and Palamedes slap.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I just want to mention this for the record, and like to see what people think. But like, I think in like an alternate universe where Harrow didn't exist, Camilla and Gideon would be a great ship.
You're not allowed to spread misinformation like this, sir.
Misinformation. I speak only the truth.
No. Mm-mm. I'm not for that.
I speak it. I speak the crack into reality.
Feelings aside, gayness aside, shimbos aside, it doesn't track. It makes no logical sense.
It'll just be. It'll be hurt comfort because Palamedes is dead. You see.
Oh my god. Just
no, but I feel like it would be built on like kind of like the respect that Gideon has for someone else who's like a scrappy fighter, who kind of like out of all of the other Cavaliers recognizes what being a fighter means, and like kind of has like, and I think like Camilla also kind of like sees through Gideon's bullshit a little bit.
Mm.
I feel like we don't get too much because like usually I think Camilla is kind of in Palamedes' shadow, but I feel like if we like hopefully because Camilla seems to be maybe alive, fingers crossed. I hope we like get more interactions with them next episode.
I did love that moment when Camilla has like an underhand thrust, and like Gideon realizes in the stairwell like that's a warrior, that's not a cav. I liked that like moment of recognition within herself, and then like they lean into fighting less like a cav because they're not like super worried about it. And then later on, you know what? This was one of my favorite parts of the book. The explanation of why Camilla uses the dual swords with the dual edge is like such a fun thing to get through. Just like we like our very smart necromancers deduced that it's the most like statistically like efficient blade in like a confined space, but also for like heavy battle. And then later on when like you like innocuously like it's inserted that and randomly like now her back is equipped with the dual swords instead, and I was like, oh shit, it's time to fight, like it's going down. And the scene that I was gonna talk about was actually when Camilla fights the Seventh House. Who was it?
I think it was it was one of those lame ass houses.
Yeah. But anyways, like Palamedes being like super emotional within that and charged and like
I'm so glad Palamedes wasn't the bad guy.
Yeah. But also the way they like characterized his platonic relationship with Camilla and his like sort of like they were less necromancer and cav than a lot of the other houses were, but they were just kind of like both more on equal footing in the sense that Palamedes like actively cared for them, not they had like an obligation to, but they thought that was super.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, and great Palamedes line. And I can't stand people who assume, just in general, like this whole thing just goes off here.
And Gideon, there's so many characters which I just wish we had more time to explore. Like I'm totally gonna search up fan fiction once I'm done with Harrow, so I don't get accidental Harrow spoilers. I'm gonna like go and find people who are writing like AU fics where like Palamedes survived and shit.
I'm still holding out hope that Palamedes is alive.
What? I believe. Yeah. He got exploded. They literally say he's dead.
I know, we talked about this. I'm just kind of reluctant to believe it, but also like I just feel like he was written to come back.
So was Gideon, and like
Don't play. Yeah. I mean, I could keep finding like a million things that I like. There are so many things in this book in general to like.
I mean, go off.
Yeah. It's just like, okay, favorite moments, and I was thinking about this today when I was putting that like perspective playlist together. I love the moment that Harrow comes back from being like unconscious towards the end of the fight scene and is like everything, and like the way they described that was just super cool, and like all of the like there was a lot of impressive stuff before, but again I think they like kind of paced this well in the fight scene. Just then it just shoots up like into the stratosphere and becomes like all of these impressive things that we haven't seen of Harrow before, but like we had been given like a breadcrumb that she could do those things with like the key formulation. You remember that? And
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, dug that a lot.
To kind of like bounce back from to all the way to the other end of the book at the very start, like I love like the description of like how tantalizing Harrow's offer is, and Gideon's like, yeah, I'll just kick her ass real quick, and then like Harrow's like, and then just and like what was the description that you thought was horrifying about that? I forgot.
Yes, it took me a moment to pick up on what you were describing, but this is one of the most like noteworthy moments in the entire book for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It was the like gnarled hands is what got me.
Oh yeah,
Just
from
like
digging all night and then like Gideon was still like trying to like outrace these corpses, and then like Harrow's like, fucking boot.
just big like to small bug. But yeah, the like that's why I couldn't keep track of the tone of this book through a lot of it, because I was just like traumatized from that one moment, and then like everything's gonna be horrible the rest.
Yeah, and
right?
I also feel like just how drastic that entire scene was is like kind of what made it hard to swallow the transformation, the speed and rate of the transformation from like I'm gonna actually murder you to death and back to actually we're lovers now.
So
like I feel like, oh wait, this is I feel like they would definitely be like Gideon would be like would have like the shirt where it's like they if if found return to Harrow, and then like Harrow would wear the I'm Harrow shirt.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would
But
probably be
also
more like
I say that, but also Harrow is the one who ended up going off and getting lost. So
true. Yeah, I feel like it would be more like property of Harrow. It's there's less of like a question, right? It doesn't really work like that. And again, as someone who's kind of a hoe for self-sacrifice, I didn't like have it wasn't a hump for me to get over the fact that Harrow was like so. Maybe this says a lot about me, but it wasn't really a big thing for me to get over the fact that Harrow was super manipulative and stuff. Even the like gnarled hands just to like, spite Gideon, I was like, that's love, bro. That's love.
hmm hmm.
The takeaway is don't date me.
Yeah. DMs are open, but do not enter. Enter at own risk.
At own risk. Wow. Yeah. What else?
Again, I'm all out of stuff, so.
I think me too.
Okay, do you want to end? I'm going to end off on one question, which is like, Cavern Necromancer.
Oh, Cab, 100%.
Mm-hmm. And like, yeah, I'm Necromancer because like, I have these weak noodle arms, and I could not raise a sword to save my life. So.
Yeah. Throughout the whole book, even if neither of you or I fit directly into Cav or Necromancer, my brain was just like, he's the Necromancer, I'm the Cav. This is how it works. Even if neither of you fit in either, this is what's happening.
Okay, I think that's a good point to like wrap everything up on. So, we're gonna go and read Harrow now.
Yep, we actually are.
Yeah.
Like
wait,
right
let's pull out our copies and pose. But yeah, so until we finish that and come back to talk about it, this is Anand and Kari signing off.